All right, so thank you, Vijoe, for taking out time for this discussion. I'm really thrilled to have this one-on-one discussion with you. One thing which is very interesting in your profile is that you have worked in various different industries, right? So we talk about FMCG, we talk about, let's say, financial industries as well, and across various different domains. What are some of the different strategies that you use when you are changing these sectors in terms of machine learning, in terms of data science? What are some of the different aspects that you focus on?
No, as a leader, let me forget about the leadership also, right? Data science is a domain agnostic science, right? So I don't think that we have to relate ourselves as a marketing data scientist or a sales or logistic data scientist. We are data scientists as such, right? And since it's domain agnostic, we can go into any space. Today you could be solving something in sales. Tomorrow you could be solving something in supply chain. The another day you could be solving something in people function, right? The important thing is what really drives me is a problem solving opportunities, right? I get to see different problem statements every day, irrespective of the domain I work in, and that makes it very interesting, right? Because your job is to find new opportunities, working with the business leaders, and then putting a technology fix, right? Everything cannot be fixed by data science in the first place. There are things that have to be fixed using automation, things has to be fixed by digital transformation, things have to be fixed by RPA. Analytics is one of the enablers, right? So what I try to do is to identify opportunities in different domains when I'm working in any company, irrespective of the company which I work for, and see how we can add value to the business and how data can be leveraged. Forget about analytics or data science. How data can be leveraged to address a problem statement. Just that.
And also, as you transverse through these different domains, how important is gaining appropriate domain knowledge before you start working on a, let's say, data science project?
Yeah. I can talk about myself, right? Because I worked in different domains. I cannot say that I'm an expert in any domain. I definitely believe that you should have a flair for understanding new domains, but I wouldn't honestly expect a data science leader to be an expert like a logistics leader or a supply leader or a manufacturing leader or an engineering leader, right? Analytics works perfectly when domains works very closely with science. So the art is how can you create great relationship with the domain leaders, use them, their knowledge, and make them part of your team. So every project that we do in every company which I work for, I create a team that includes domain experts from the business and data science experts from my team. So the marriage between these two parties, right, the domain experts and data science, create magic. Where it goes wrong is sometimes data scientists or data science leaders try to solve problems the way they want without thinking what's important for the business, right? So for me, the answer is I'm not an expert in any domain I work for, I support. I understand the domain at the surface level, but I rely on the knowledge of the actual leaders in those spaces who will bridge the gap.
That's very interesting, and it's very nice to hear that in your teams you try to include a lot of domain experts as well for that particular domain. So that's a more inclusive approach, even the end output would suit to their needs, right?
Exactly.
Makes sense. So again, related to the different domains that you have worked on, is there a specific observation that you have made that certain kind of algorithms work better for certain domains? There are different kind of algorithms which work better for other domains. Is there any shortcut that you can give us?
So, this is a very interesting question, and I was answering the same question to somebody some time back, right? Honestly, I don't get excited by algorithms, right? Or technology or tools. These are just the tools that you need end of the day to answer a question. My policy is that if you can solve a problem statement using a BI, do that with BI, don't even think about AI. In machine learning or AI, you can solve it by a simple regression, do it with regression, rather than taking it to an advanced, technique, right? Of course, if an ML technique doesn't work out, then go for a DL, right? If a DL doesn't work out, then go for Gen AI. So for me, sometimes the challenge with data scientists and the data science functions that we have, they work for their own satisfaction, right? The idea is not to solve the problem statement, but to solve it the most exciting way that gives them a lot of learning, right? So what I create in my team is an opportunity for them to learn on projects that's just academic, right? Doesn't doesn't have to really go with the business, ask or business needs. That's like 20% of time or 15% of time where we do projects for learning. But when it comes to business, for me, algorithms or techniques are secondary, right? For me, the simplest technique, if it could solve, it should solve.
So you would say gradual approach, where you would start with simple and then gradually go on complex if the requirements are not met.
Exactly, and just to add on to this topic, right? People also should know where to stop your urge for accuracies, right? Every solution doesn't need a 100% accurate solution. So if you are in pharma and you're creating a drug that's supposed to save your life, if it doesn't have 100% accuracy, it's going to kill somebody here, right? But when you're working on a problem statement that doesn't have that kind of criticality, maybe an 80 or 85% accuracy is enough. The delta effort that you put to make a solution from 80% to 99% may not yield delta value.
True.
So data science colleagues and leaders should know where they should stop their fight for the most accurate solution. Sometimes what I say is that everybody wants the most accurate solution, irrespective of whether that problem statement demands the most accurate solutions or not, right? So obviously, right, it's a gradual approach, but definitely if it's a problem statement that demands accuracy, for example, forecasting. Forecasting is a great example, right? Forecasting accuracy needs to be super high because your entire planning, depends on the entire forecasting. So there, of course, you need to go with the best solutions that we have to develop. Another example, if I can give, is we are building a solution on hedging, right? Hedging is a big topic, right? It's billions of dollars worth of currencies and commodities that we hedge every year. There, I cannot be saying that, okay, and let me create a simple solution that gives you 85% accuracy. There I need, the best technique. For example, in hedging, we're using solutions that been used in Google Lens, for example, right? The same technique that used in Google Lens is used in our solutions that we're building in-house. That level of complication that we bring or advancements we bring, but it depends on the use case. So I don't go with the idea of complicating every solution for the sake of accuracies. So I try to weigh what we are trying to solve, what accuracies meets the demand, and for that accuracy, what the simplest solution can be deployed to answer the question.
That's interesting. And since you were talking about hedging, and many of our learners somehow are really interested in stock market, right? So what would be, let's say, a target accuracy that people should look at when we talk about hedging?
No, hedging and all needs to be like 95, 97, that level of accuracy, right? Because you're betting on big numbers and all of that. You're hedging your commodities for next 1 year. You cannot take it light, right? It's aluminum, for example. If I take an example, it's like billions of dollars worth of aluminum that we buy every year. So for those kind of problem statements, obviously you need the best, right? Aim for 100, but 100 won't be possible. But the best accuracy will be required. Same with forecasting, right? I believe that forecasting is an area where we need to really invest because, one example would be, right, solutions that we built pre-COVID doesn't work now anymore because the entire context changed, the macroeconomic factors changed, the variables that influence forecasting in 2019 are not the variables that influence forecasting in 2023. So there you need to invest, right? There you need to invest not just in techniques, but in data, bringing third-party data sets, right? And data is the biggest asset that anybody can sell these days, right? So buy the right data sets, bring the right variables, and improve your accuracy.
So actually, you partially already answered my next question, but still, I would want to know if there are anything other points that you want to add. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, how do you maintain that relationship in your team? Because data scientists tend to go a little bit academic, right? That research oriented, right? Yeah. And businesses have to run commercially, right? Yeah. So how do you make sure that both the ends are satisfied?
No, let me answer this question a different way, right? Based on my limited experience, a data scientist or any knowledge worker, right, who has a lot of options in their life, right? They work in a company because of 3 reasons. For me, one is culture, right? What is the culture of the team, the company, right? It's a rewarding culture. It's a meritocracy-based culture. Are you respected for your efforts? Are you rewarded for your efforts? All of that. So culture is very important for the new generation, right? It's not gone are the years where the new gen will stay in a company for 30 years and retire, right? They want a company with the right culture. Very important. Me personally also, it's a biggest factor that I look for in a company, culture, right? Second thing for a data scientist is learning, right? Learning and growth, right? Why? Because, the culture is great, but you've been asked to do the same model for 1 year, run the same solution for 1 year, or scale the same solution for 20 countries. You build something in Africa, you build it, then you got to scale it to entire 55 countries. Your learning is very limited. What you're doing is you build something somewhere, you're fine-tuning that for another 50 countries. There you need to be very careful, because today's generation wants to learn, because they know that if you learn, you can capitalize that somewhere else, right? So the important thing for them is learning. So this is because of the question that you asked. I ensure that there is a learning path for them, that's irrespective of what they do for the company, right? Because every problem statement that the company wants to solve may not have a great learning, right? Forecasting is a great example which I talked about, right? Or for that matter, anything, right? Even data science becomes operations after first time. First time when you solve a problem statement, it's like your wow moment. Oh man, it's so fancy. I developed the best marketing model. But next time when you do, it's operations, right? You're just replicating, or you're doing a small advancement of what you already did. So what I do is that I ensure that 15% of their time at least is spent on learning itself, right? Which means that we take Kaggle problem statements and UCLA problem statements and go with even with our own company data, right? We have large data sets on IIoT, image data sets that we have, video data sets we have, and we try to solve them. It may not be directly impacting the company's performance like tomorrow. That's for them. That's the investment which I am doing to ensure that my people believe that there's a learning in this company. The third, obviously, is the remuneration, right? For me, these are three factors: the right culture, right learning, and remuneration or growth, whichever way you call it, right? They should feel that this is a company that gives them the best career path, right? Your earning potential comes with your career growth, obviously. It's directly proportional anyway.
Well, that's very interesting, right? So that you take out specific projects for learners to experiment with. That's very interesting. Right? 15% is what you mentioned, right?
Give or take. 15%, I would say that we should invest on them, right? Because if you want to retain them, all three are equally important, right? Because I believe that I am in need of them, not the other way around, right?
So, slightly lighter questions. Even though you mentioned that you really are not, let's say, deeply involved with a particular domain, but out of different domains that you have worked on, which was your favorite domain?
So far, which I work for, right? I think personally, I believe that non-commercial as such as a domain, right, is not very mature, right? So because if you think about the maturity of analytics in the market, a large portion will be retail, as in top line retail. Your sales, your marketing, your promos, your pricing, your discounts, you name it, your usual suspects. Then a huge piece would be BFSI, right? Your insurance, your banking, and all of that, your credit, and all of that. So this takes pretty much 80% of the entire market, right? And people always believe that what's important for a company is its top line growth. Today, businesses are opening their eyes and they're seeing that for a company to be successful, they have to increase their sales and control their cost, or which means that they have to reduce the cost of production, right? Today, that's what I'm specializing in. So I worked in Tesco for around 12 years, and 12 years I was pretty much focusing on top line solutions. But ABI, what I'm doing today is I don't touch top line at all. What I'm working today is on things which normally people don't take very seriously: finance analytics, logistics, supply, procurement, people, compliance. And what we are seeing is that investing in bottom line analytics in our company, the ROI is as good as top line or bigger than that.
Oh, interesting.
Right? So for me as a domain, in the last 5 years, ABI gave me the opportunity to experiment something new, to experiment analytics in bottom line. Even we are in the culture of doing analytics in bottom line. We were also a company which was heavily focusing on only top line analytics. But today we have a big practice across the globe doing bottom line analytics. And I believe that it's a great opportunity, because it's an area that people have always undermined or didn't give the right importance, but it's giving a great value for the business.
That's very interesting. Sure. Particularly when we talk about explainability of the models, right? There are a few select models that we generally rely on, and in the industry also there are particular industries, financial, you mentioned BFSI, who are largely aligned towards explainable models. How important do you think is this factor in particularly risky or, let's say, sensitive industries?
No, explainability is important in certain domains, right? I can give some examples and explain, and rather than me telling as a black and white answer, right? Today, you know that I work for a beer company, AB InBev. It's the world's largest brewer. Today, we are able to predict the fermentation curve of beer, which means that, just to give an idea, a beer that you get, it goes through a fermentation process which takes anywhere from 4 days to 12 days, right? And it's a controlled fermentation process that it has to go through. And every point in time, we need to ensure that the quality, everything is good. There are like 100 variables that actually result in the characteristics of the beer that you love. The aroma, the gas content, everything, the color, you name it, right? Essentially, all beer is nothing but barley, yeast, hops, and water, right? Irrespective of the beer you drink, it's only these 4 contents. The fermentation curve actually decides the characteristics of the beer. In the past, this was a manual process. Every 1 hour, a brewmaster has to go and check how the fermentation is going. He'll take a sample from the boiler, takes it to the lab and sees whether it's going well. And if it goes wrong, he has very limited tools or options in his hand to stop it, which means that there's a high chance that we lose the entire batch. Today with AI, I'm able to predict the fermentation curve cycle of the entire life cycle of a beer. And I can tell whether the fermentation curve will go in the same pattern which I would have expected for the next 12 hours. Assume that I'll tell somebody that, you know what, there's an alert, your fermentation curve is gonna go weird in next 5 hours, you fix it. It doesn't mean anything, because I'm just saying that something is gonna go wrong, but why it will go wrong, I'm not telling.
What is it that they need to fix?
What I need to change, I'm not telling. So in this use case, without me telling them, right, your fermentation curve is gonna go off track, and that's because the air pressure is acting weird, the inlet pressure is going weird, the inlet temperature is going weird. Fix 3 variables, you can bring it back. Here explainability becomes super, super important. Let me take another example, right? Another example is we have invested millions and millions of dollars on chest freezers. If you go to any bar or any shop, you'll see freezers where you kept beers, right? And those are investments from our end to ensure that our brand is highlighted, right? So there is an expectation on how those chest freezers will be used, in the sense that first of all, they should keep our brands in the chest freezers that we are given. Second of all, our brand should be highlighted. You cannot keep the beer the other way around, showing the MRP price rather than the front side of the board. So what we have is sensors or cameras in this freezers, which will give a feed on what's inside the freezer. Is it our brand or not in the first place? Is it fully filled all the time? And is it kept in the right way? In this specific example, you don't need any explainability. You have to just say that your brand is not sitting there. That's it. Why it's not sitting there is not relevant to anyone, right? So explainability comes at a cost, first of all, right? When you have to make a solution explainable, there are areas where we are working on, where black box models will give great accuracies, but when it comes to explainability, very pathetic. Then you have to go with conventional AI or traditional ML techniques, which doesn't give the same accuracies. You have to bring a lot of external aid, a lot of external data sets and all to again boost the performance. But that's the investment that you're making to make it explainable. So my take on this is, for solutions where explainability is important, it's important, and there you may not go with the black box models that gives the best outcomes, but we need to first understand whether explainability is important or not. If it's not important, go with the shortest cut that gives the best results.
But this one is definitely a very interesting example. I wouldn't have never imagined that in the beer fermentation process you would need an explainable model.
No, it's an experiment. I'll give you one more interesting fact. The cost of distracting beer is more than the cost of producing beer. If you have to ethically distract beer, so it's not like you can take the bad batch into and put it into some. No, it doesn't work that way. So we are an ethical company. We have to destroy it ethically. Sometimes the cost of destroying beer is more expensive than producing it.
And so, last question: any last-minute tips for our budding aspirants who are venturing into the field and trying out different algorithms?
We are talking about Gen AI, how technology will take over your jobs, right? How the job market will change, disrupt all of that. But I always believe that problem solvers will never run out of business, right? So sometimes people feel that being technical or technically savvy is just enough to build a career. But my take would be try to create a business context, right? Because if you take most of our careers, right, first 10 years, you build your career just by being technical. You are, you are the best at your technical capabilities. But then when you have to scale yourselves, you should know how to create another 10 clones of you. That's how you grow. For that, you need to go strategic. There, what makes the biggest difference is your ability to talk to people, liaise with people, your ability to interact with others, your ability to influence others, your ability to identify new opportunities, the ability to influence others to adopt a solution that you have built, change management, your ability to understand pain points. So try to be a mix of both. Don't go with this idea that I will just sit and code, right, without knowing the business context. Because what I see really today is that none of these algorithms beyond a certain limit, algorithms alone can't bring accuracies to solutions, right? A business context of the problem statement is very important. I don't believe that AI can be completely democratized. BI, we saw that journey, right? From a highly technical space to become completely democratized, and my 10-year-old son can, 12-year-old son can, create his own BI dashboards. But I strongly believe that when it comes to AI, the human touch makes the biggest difference, because AI is an iterative science, right? The art is not doing it first right time. The art is iterating it and taking it to a level that's best for the business, right? And there, your behavioral skill set is equally important to your coding skill set. So when I interview somebody for my company, right, my leaders under me, they look for the technical fitment. I look for the cultural fitment and that ability of that person to work on his own initiatives, right? Because we are going into a world where we don't have layers, right? We don't have, every company doesn't have a program manager, scrum master, marketing manager. In our company, at least, what we expect is every data scientist to act like an individual leader and own his stuff, right? And create solutions by himself, talking to the leaders, understanding problem statements. For me, that mix of being technical and functional, that's a deadly combo. So I believe that problem solvers, irrespective of technology, right? We talked about ML some time back, DL some time back, Gen I today. 1 year from now, I'm sure my dear friend will be talking about something else, right? But irrespective of the technology, I believe that if you're a great problem solver, you will never run out of business, right? So my request is my advice to all the newbies is to understand the importance of being good at your behavioral capabilities while you equally focus on your technical capabilities.
So, Vijoe, that's a great advice, and thank you for a very insightful session. This is going to definitely benefit our learners. So, and thank you again for taking out time for this one-on-one discussion. Definitely very enriching.
Definitely. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.